Hey everybody, Ed Homewood, Old Guy Hi-Fi channel. I hope everyone's doing well today. Today we're going to talk about these really interesting SVS Ultra Evolution bookshelf speakers. So sit back, relax, and we're going to talk about these cool stand mount two-ways. So the SVS Evolution bookshelf. It is a 6.5-inch two-way stand mount speaker that sells for $600 a piece, $1,200 for the pair. They're really nicely constructed. They have a frequency response of 40 hertz to 40,000 hertz. They have a nominal impedance of 6 ohms and a sensitivity of 87 dB. They do have really nice binding posts. I do like the quality of the binding posts. Really nice flared port. I didn't detect any chuffing even on low bass notes. Really nice time-aligned cabinet. We'll talk about that in a minute. 6-inch woofer, 1-inch dome tweeter. But what's interesting is SVS uses a process called FEA optimization, which stands for finite element analysis, which is kind of a way to computer simulate how physical structures respond to forces and vibrations and things like that. So as they design the motor structure for the woofer and the tweeter, they can use that and they can make some predictions about how it's going to sound before they actually build one. And it helps kind of cut down research and development time, and also helps them kind of predetermine or put in the specifications of the characteristics they really want to get the sound they're looking for. So in this case, they use a 1-inch, again, finite element analysis, optimized diamond-coated tweeter, and it uses this organic cell lattice over the tweeter, not only to protect the dome, but also to control dispersion and obviously make sure that it's giving you the sound they want you to hear. Very nice, airy highs with good clarity. Now, the vapor deposition of the diamond material is really interesting, as it grows a hyper-rigid diamond-like coating on the aircraft-grade aluminum dome. So it's an aluminum dome with a vapor deposition diamond coating on it. And again, for better high frequency dispersion, better high frequency response, obviously up to 40,000 cycles is way beyond what we can hear. But by being able to do that clearly, there's no harmonics that are going to come back into the audible range. It also uses silver tinsel leads, obviously, for best signal transfer. Now, the woofer is a 6.5-inch long-stroke die-cast chassis motor. Really nice. It's a composite glass fiber cone, so good stiffness but good response, and reasonably lightweight so it can respond quickly. And it uses a vented aluminum voice coil former. Now, a voice coil former is actually the ring that the wire is wound around, like a bobbin. And so the former is important because obviously it will dictate the thermal characteristics of the speaker. And aluminum is a good one for that. So it minimizes any kind of thermal issue, while because it's vented, it minimizes air pressure behind the woofer, behind the actual dust cover itself, which could prevent the speaker from being able to move freely. So that's really interesting. It also uses a really neat two-way crossover, and I'll insert some pictures of all of this stuff, with premium grade capacitors, inductors, resistors, and obviously on a well-designed printed circuit board. And the crossover between the woofer and the tweeter is 1,800 cycles. Now, one of the things I think is really interesting, I'm going to kind of turn it this way a little bit, and hopefully you can see, is the angled front of the the Ultra Evolution bookshelf speaker. It is done for time alignment. So the geometry introduces what they refer to as microsecond level time delays between the drivers, so that when the sound hits your ear, everything is in the right time and obviously in the right phase. They use a chamfered front baffle and flush mounted drivers to reduce the baffle distortion, edge distortion, which obviously is an important component. And it's also an extra thick 1-inch, very solid cabinet, front 1-inch front baffle, and then lots of internal bracing, and really, really nicely built. Again, very solidly constructed speaker. So let's talk about how I tested it. So I tested these speakers with a lot of different equipment. Primarily, I used the SPL Director and S900 Performer amp preamp combination, and I also used the Advanced Paris A7. So those were the two primary amplifiers. My sources were Artivana feeding either the built-in DAC in the SPL Director preamp or the Live Harmony, or feeding the Daisy, the Gishelli Daisy with the upgraded 2590 op amps and upgraded FIO linear power supply running into the advanced Paris A7. And I also used the built-in DAC in the A7 for a time as well. So I tested them a lot, and I used a lot of different recordings. So the first recording I'm going to recommend is Olivia Belli's Sol Novo from 2021. Now, Sol Novo means new sun or new day, I guess depending on the context in Italian. Olivia Belli has kind of risen from a farmhouse composer to an international star. She was kind of on the fringes of things and then got noticed. And her music is just beautiful and soothing and kind of evokes, and I don't know because I've never been there, but evokes this beautiful and this love she has for the Italian countryside where she lives. And it's just really beautiful. Now, the title comes from a line in Dante's Divine Comedy, and it kind of ties, the whole idea is it ties into her love of the natural light in the region where she lives in central Italy, sunrise, sunset, those things, that peaceful kind of quiet, reflective sort of time. It's just beautiful. The 16 tracks on the album are beautifully recorded, really well recorded, and it's primarily piano accompanied with strings, and the sound is just lush and smooth and relaxing and soothing, and I can sit back and listen to this. Now, there's enough melodic complexity and interest in it to keep you engaged in listening and wanting to hear what comes next, but at the same time, you can just kind of let the burden of the day, release off of you. And it's just a really soothing album. On these speakers, they did a very, very good job with that, which I kind of was not expecting given kind of, and I'm assuming a little bit of their kind of home theater intention. But anyway, so Sol Novo from Olivia Belli, highly recommended. My favorite track on it is the title track, Sol Novo. Well, the next record is an old favorite of mine. It is Don Henley's End of the Innocents from 1989. Now, this is Henley's third solo album, and just after this album, they went back and reformed Eagles and went on tour for years, and it took another 11 years for his next solo album to come out called Inside Job. This album features great tracks like at The End of Innocence, which is a big hit, Heart of the Matter, which is a big hit. The title track, The End of Innocence, was co-written with Bruce Hornsby. So Hornsby's playing piano, and obviously you've got Hensley with the reflective lyrics, addressing themes of lost innocence and societal change and all kinds of other stuff, The End of Innocence. Interestingly enough, the song I Will Not Go Quietly, the harmony vocals on that were handled by Axl Rose of Guns N' Roses, who was on the same label at the same time. So he happened to be in the studio. He did backing vocals on that song. This is a really well-recorded late 80s pop song, clean, detailed, good dynamics, not overly compressed, and I appreciate that. Again, it is a studio album, so the instruments are placed where the engineers put them, but it really had a good sound, and these did a really good job, especially on bass response, good through the vocals, and we're going to talk about that more when I summarize the sound quality of this. But anyway, so Don Henley, End of Innocence. My favorite track on it is The Heart of the Matter. The next recording I'm going to recommend is Leonard Bernstein and the New York Philharmonic, Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto and Serenade for Strings, featuring Isaac Stern on violin. Now, this was released in 1976, and this is absolutely a legendary collaboration. It is Isaac Stern and the New York Philharmonic and Leonard Bernstein. It is Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto in D major, Opus 35, and this is a real powerhouse of a collaboration. You've got Bernstein at his peak. You've got the New York Philharmonic at their peak, one of the world's great orchestras through that period of time still. And actually, when Bernstein took the baton at New York Philharmonic in the late 50s, they were just a powerhouse and one of the most recorded, one of the most lauded and praised orchestras in the world. And the result of this collaboration is a performance that is just celebrated for its depth and brilliance. The album also features Tchaikovsky's Serenade and Serenade for Strings in C major, Opus 48. And this is where the New York Philharmonic's really lush string section, which is something they were always well known for, really kind of shines under Bernstein's baton. The Serenade is known for its gorgeous melodies and detailed orchestration, making it really a favorite of the string repertoire. And this recording from '76 earned high praise in its day for its emotional punch, and technical perfection, perfectly capturing the spirit of Tchaikovsky's work. It is still considered one of the best recordings of these pieces there is. Really, really beautiful. Now, the interesting thing was, this was not recorded at New York Philharmonic at their normal concert hall. It was actually recorded at Columbia Records 30th Street studio, the church. And the church it was an old Armenian church converted into a studio. It was a large, large space. Obviously, they get the New York Philharmonic in there. But the other interesting thing about the church is it was really well known for its acoustics. And it's also where Miles Davis happened to record Kind of Blue. So highly recommend this recording. And these speakers did a great job with it, which we're going to talk about next. So how did the SVS Ultra Evolution bookshelf speakers perform? Well, they exceeded my expectations for sure. And maybe I had a bit of a preconceived notion that SVS was just a home theater speaker company and, that it would be all boom and sizzle and things like that. And while the speaker does exhibit a V-shaped frequency response, accentuated bass, which I don't mind, and a little bit more exciting top end, they did a really good job. The mid-range was slightly pulled back, I think, which kind of surprised me because a lot of times home theater speakers are accentuated in the mid-range. And I think the rising treble probably occurred about the middle of the mid-range on up, but lower mid-range, a little bit pulled back, a little bit cool, but lower mid bass, all the mid bass range, lower bass, everything, that was really well done. And I felt a lot of times I didn't need, when I was listening for the reviews, I don't ever use a subwoofer, but when I'm doing casual listening, occasionally I'll turn it on, and I rarely, if ever, turned on the subwoofer listening to these. They did a beautiful job. Now, one of the things I was really impressed with is their ability to throw down a really good image. It got pretty wide. It didn't go way beyond the speakers on either side, but it did a really good job with the width of the image. It did a good job with height. Center was very focused, and image depth was very good. Now, it was important that I team them with the right kind of electronics. So with some of the Class D equipment I have here, it was a little bit too exciting in the upper mid-range and into the treble area. With the Advanced Paris A7, which is a Class AB amp, and with the SPL S900 Performer, which is a Class AB amp. Both of those did a really, really good job. The SPL is super clean, very precise amplifier, where the Advanced Paris has a bit of warmth because of that high bias feature it has. So I found myself kind of listening to it on the Advanced Paris more often than not, using the Daisy DAC with the power supply and the 2590 op amps to kind of give me a bit of a smoother, a little bit more warmer presentation. And that was a very, very good combination. So system pairing is going to be important. I'm a big believer in synergy, and I found a really good synergy. The SPL equipment did really good with it. Very authoritative, very powerful. These can get loud. These can rock and roll. They can boogie all you want. They do a really good job with that. But with the Advanced Paris, I felt like I was getting kind of more of that warmer sound that I tend to gravitate toward, and that's just a personal thing. I thought through the low end, bass was excellent, detailed, fast, very quick, very nuanced, yeah, good nuance, good detail. I never felt like I was missing anything, even though I listened to a lot of synthesizer bass. There's not a lot of necessarily texture there, but these did a good job and allowed me to follow the bass line clearly. Mid-bass attack and everything was just wonderful. And the Don Henley recording, obviously he's a drummer, so there's a lot of drum emphasis in those songs. The drums were really well recorded. It probably had 25 mics on the drum kit, and it sounded absolutely beautiful and fast and well-paced and really, really engaging. And again, through the upper bass into the lower mid-bass area, smooth, detailed, everything was there as I expected to be. As we moved into the kind of upper mid-bass, lower mid-range, I felt like things kind of pulled back just a little bit, and it was a little bit cool. And as we moved up into the mid-range and kind of into the lower treble range, probably in that 5,000 up hertz area, maybe a little bit lower than that, it started to get a little bit exciting. But I found with the Advanced Paris combination that it kind of took that down a notch compared to any of the Class D stuff I had it on, and found it to be really pleasing. So dynamics were quite good on the speaker. As I said, it's a good, fast response speaker, I think, because of the lightweight glass fiber cone and the really strong motor structure that the woofer has. I felt it did a really good job. Now, the aluminum dome, the diamond-coated aluminum dome tweeter can be a little bit exciting, a little bit not necessarily my flavor, but it acquitted itself really well in presenting that air, those details in the upper mid-range and lower treble that give you kind of the imaging cues and room sense and things like that. It did a really good job. When it got way up high, and if you're playing a little bit loud, it could get a little shouty, and that's just, again, my personal taste. So overall, I thought these were quite good, and at $1,200 for the pair, I think they're really nice. Now, they are kind of the polar opposite of the Dolly Opticon 2 Mark IIs that I reviewed, and they're both 6-inch two-way stand-mount speakers. This is a little bit more exciting in its presentation. The Dolly a little bit more warm and a little bit more, maybe not detailed, but a little bit more nuanced in the mid-range. These are, again, a little bit emphasized there, but I think for a lot of people, that's going to be the sound they like. Is this like Klipsch? No, not at all. This is way better sounding than Klipsch. Much more detailed and smooth and less honky, but again, a bit of a V-shaped curve. I really was impressed with them. Very, very pleased to have had the opportunity to review them. And I think they're really well constructed. They're very attractive looking. I have the black ash finish here. And again, I was surprised and very, very pleasantly surprised by their performance, especially on classical music and a lot of the stuff I like to listen to. They did a really good job. So I can recommend these if you're looking for a good bookshelf, if you're looking for something that's going to give you, maybe you have a system a vintage system. These would be great with a vintage amplifier that kind of tends to be pulled back a little bit. I don't necessarily recommend them with some of, maybe I would kind of steer clear of Rotel. They can be a little bright on the top end. Again, system matching is an important thing. These would work really good with Cambridge Audio. They would work really good with Advanced Paris. They would probably pair very well with Vincent or with Rogue, especially the Sphinx. Anyway, so great speaker. The SVS Ultra Evolution stand mount speakers at $1,200 for the pair. Well, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you'd be willing to give me a like and your subscription. By the way, about 60% of the folks that watch my videos don't subscribe. And if you would, it would greatly help the channel, because as I get more subscribers, it makes it easier for manufacturers to want to loan me gear so I can do reviews for you guys and we can all have some fun. And that was the case here with SVS. I met them at the Capitol Audio Fest and they were super generous. Really good company to deal with. So anyway, hopefully you give me your like and your subscription if you wish to support the channel. There's a thank you button at the bottom of the video window if you're watching on a portable device or your computer. There's also a membership link in the pinned comment and in the video description. There will be a link to SVS's website. I don't have an affiliation with them. And if you have need any more information, there's some good resources on their website about the speakers. There are also affiliate links in my video description. There's my playlist down there. There will be links to the 3 albums I spoke of today. And I would appreciate your comments. What are you looking for? What kind of sound do you like? I would also ask a favor if you could keep the comments brief and kind of to the point. And also, too, I can't offer a suggestion on equipment pairing if it's not something I've reviewed. So I have created playlists that you can easily find a category, speakers, DACs, whatever, and look back at my video history. And if you've seen me review the product, then yes, ask me the question, but I can't tell you necessarily how speaker A is going to pair with amplifier Z if I haven't done it. So I appreciate that. Anyway, I think that's all I need to say. Again, the SVS Ultra Evolution bookshelf stand mount speaker, really nice, really good unit. Highly recommend it, especially if you're going to be doing home theater or 2.1 home theater or even a full home theater with a good SVS subwoofer. Great combination. My name's Ed Homewood. This is the Old Guy Hi-Fi channel. And now it's your turn to sit back and listen maybe to something beautiful like Olivia Belli's Sol Novo album on a wonderful pair of stand mount speakers, and enjoy the balance of your day and just relax. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.